Next time you're at Dollar Tree, grab some fall florals and then head to the toy aisle and pick up some of these wiffle balls. I'm going to begin by taking my wiffle ball and I'm going to get this velvet ribbon and I'm going to cut a piece that's about 20 to 30 inches in length. I'm going to take one end of the velvet ribbon, sliding it through one hole and pulling it through another hole with some needle nose pliers. I'm going to knot off the end and then I'm going to take that knot and I'm going to slide it down through the hole so that it's inside the wiffle ball. Then I'm going to come in with one of my bouquets of flowers and I'm going to rip the flower heads from the stems, and then using the flat part at the bottom, I'm going to apply some glue and stick those into the holes on the wiffle ball. I'm going to hold it for a few seconds just to make sure the glue sets. Then I'm going to continue adding the flowers in and around the wiffle ball into different holes, placing the hot glue and then shoving them in the holes sporadically around the wiffle ball. Once I've done enough of one type of flower, then I move on to another flower, working that in as well to make sure they're evenly spaced. And you can add as many different flowers as you want until you fill all the holes of the wiffle ball. Then I'm going to take the greenery off the floral stems, pinching it and adding a little bit of hot glue to the bottom and then sticking those in between the florals. This just adds a nice bit of depth and dimension to the floral ball. I've made two of these. The other one I used a little bit brighter flower just for some more color. And then to add just the cherry on the top, I'm going to add a nice green bow for fall. I'm just working the bow here around the velvet hanger, tying it on with some wire, making sure it's nice and secure. And then our floral balls are finished. You can hang these in your garden. You can use them for fall weddings. There's so many different uses for these, and they're so easy to make using the wiffle ball. Feel free to get creative with this one and experiment with different florals and really make this project your own.
First, let's prep the pumpkins. So let's remove the stems by just pulling them from the pumpkin, and we will reattach them later. So first, I spray painted all of the pumpkins a basic white. Once they dried completely, I lightly sprayed the pumpkins with a green spray paint, kind of like an overspray. And I did this by layering light dustings of the green paint and let it dry in between. This part really didn't take very long. Once they're completely dry, then we can reattach the pumpkin stems, which I had painted with a silver nickel spray paint and oversprayed with the green spray paint. Next, we're going to prep the styrofoam ball. So take a length of floral wire that is about double the length of the styrofoam ball and fold it in half. Now, if your styrofoam is soft enough, you can pierce through with the floral wire and just pull it to the other side. My styrofoam ball was pretty dense, and so I took an upholstery needle and pierced through the ball to create a little tunnel, and then I push floral wire through to the other side with the folded edge. So when that folded edge comes out the other side, just twist it to create a loop, and that's what you'll hang your pumpkin ball from. Then on the other side, you've got two little tails of the excess floral wire. Just take each one of those tails, fold it around the edge of the pumpkin ball, and just stick it into the side of the ball. And that is sufficient to anchor that floral wire into the styrofoam ball. Now is the really fun part. We get to glue the pumpkins onto the styrofoam ball. There really is no set pattern for gluing the pumpkins. However, I find it helps to kind of group the pumpkins in groups of three, keeping in mind that a succulent will go in the center, in between those, filling in that gap. So to attach the pumpkins to the ball, you just use hot glue, put some hot glue on the bottom of each pumpkin and stick to the styrofoam ball. You want to hold this in place until it is set. Every once in a while, I needed to glue a leaf to a pumpkin to keep the succulent anchored. Once the pumpkins and succulents are glued to the ball, you will notice there are still nooks and crannies, so fill those with moss. A little bit of hot glue is all you need to attach the moss and fill those spaces, and just stuff the moss in and fill those spots. I think this was my favorite part of the project because I can really see what the ball is going to look like when it's finished. Finally, tie a ribbon to the wire loop that you made earlier on, and you now have a beautiful pumpkin ball that is ready for hanging. I have used this hanging from our front porch. I tried it hanging from a shepherd's hook in the backyard, and might even have it hanging from our back door.
The next time you're browsing the toy aisle at Dollar Tree, don't pass by these plastic wiffle balls. So for my first project, I'm going to be taking some regular jute twine, and I'm going to cut off a long piece of it, and I'm going to tie it in half and then slide it through 2 of the holes on the wiffle ball. And then I'm just going to knot it and bring my knot all the way down to the end. And then what I have here, once I've knotted it, is a loop and a hanger, so that I can hang up this project when it is complete. Then I'm going to take a bunch of flowers here that I have for my stash, and I'm going to begin adding some hot glue on the base of the flowers after I've ripped them off the stems. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stick all the flowers into the wiffle ball holes. So this is a really easy DIY way to make some hanging floral balls, and it doesn't get much easier than this. You honestly just add the hot glue at the base of your flower head and shove it in the hole of the plastic wiffle ball. And you can do this with however many different types of flowers you like. Experiment with different colors, different textures, and here are the hanging flower balls. Honestly, this is such an easy DIY. Super easy to do. You can hang them in your garden or wherever you want around your home. And don't forget, this is great for weddings and parties too. For my second project, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take just some scrap fabric that I had laying around, and I'm going to use a ruler and a rotary cutter, and I'm going to cut the fabric into 1-inch strips. Once I have my fabric all cut, I'm going to start with a bead of hot glue on my plastic wiffle ball, and then I'm going to go ahead and set the edge of the fabric there, letting it set, and then pulling the fabric nice and tight, I'm going to wrap it around the wiffle ball, making sure I overlap it just a bit when I get back to where I left off with my first glue mark. Then I'm going to glue that end down, and I'm just going to repeat this process over and over again, just overlapping my fabric a little bit each time. So each time I start a new fabric piece, I'm just overlapping and then wrapping it around again. I continue doing this until the entire ball is covered. Now you may be asking, why don't you just use a styrofoam ball or any other kind of craft foam ball? But the wiffle balls actually work so well for this. I find better than craft styrofoam balls because they're nice and hard, and when you push the fabric on, it adheres a lot better. Plus the hot glue doesn't melt like it would with the styrofoam ball. Feel free to experiment with different colors of fabrics and patterns, ones that would suit your home. I've placed mine here in this wooden dish with my other decorative balls, and it just adds that nice pop of color. I really hope that you enjoyed these easy, super fun DIY projects, and we'll see you on another video